innocently. And he said, that's what, he's telling us about what nicotine. And this is running through my mind, and here I am, standing here talking to his wife, and I got bulges of cigarettes everywhere. Balls of fire. And so finally, I said, Bud, I can't go any longer without telling you. I don't smoke these things. We use them to barter with. And Charles McDonald says, yeah, that's what he pays the girls with. And to this day, I've never seen Bud. He's never been there when I've been there. But that was an interesting thing. And so when they talk about, avoid the appearance of evil, that's what comes to my mind.
Good. Parker, Popeye drove kids to seminary before he even had kids to take to seminary. How long did you do that for?
Well, we started out with Sue Brown, Pamela Waterman, even went out as far as Foster, but I only did that twice because that was too much. That was like an hour's ride. I mean, people had to get to work. We made assignments. It wasn't just the parents that were called upon. We made assignments in the ward, and the bishopric. I mean, Russ Andrews, myself, and Jim Hart. We probably took certainly more than our share, but we took them, yeah. And the ones that were really steady with it was the fellows, and they were in East Providence, so that was a little bit of a haul. And there were 3 of them, and then Pam Waterman and Karen Waterman and Skip Waterman. So there were probably 8 that was fairly regular. And Leela Coons, after a while, she just started to pick. I mean, she lived almost next door, or go by Sue Brown's house. So she later on, because she always taught seminary, she would pick Sue Brown up, and so that kind of relieved that part, and, but it still had the East Providence, and oh yeah, yeah.
Do you remember waking me up for seminary?
Yeah, I'd wake you up and tell you had little green things in your nose. Remember that?
Yep. The tunnel people. You remember the tunnel people, Parker?
So tell us about when your first child was born.
Your favorite.
Well, I was working for Thoman and Austin at the time, basically just as a helper. And I was out with Carl Richter, whose name, I gave you the other morning. And he goes in this, I don't remember what place it was, but he come out and he said, I got to get you home. And I said, why is that? And he said, because your wife, they've taken your wife to the hospital, so you're going to have the baby. So he did.
Before cell phones.
Oh,
How did he find out? I mean, what?
I don't know. I think Ray probably knew where he was going to stop to pick up some parts, at a supply house.
Oh, did you call Ray or something?
Oh, no. No. I don't know how they knew.
That's a good question, how they knew. I don't know.
You had to have called somebody.
I lived with my parents at the time.
Oh.
My dad.
Oh,
Your dad,
okay.
somebody must have
My
called.
dad took me.
They must have called because when I got back there, Ray said, you got to get home right now, Bob, because they've taken your wife to the hospital. And so I go down right to the hospital, right from work, and they had her. You weren't in a delivery room.
I was just laying in the hall.
Was,
That's what they tell me. I was out. I don't know.
she was laying out in the hallway, and as I remember, you weren't very coherent.
No.
And but,
I said,
but she was,
knock me out.
she was laying there, and then, of course, shortly thereafter, they took her in the delivery room, and then the nurse comes out and says, you can come in and see him. You've got a baby girl. And I still remember, I go in there, and you had this big knob on the back of your head. And I said, oh, balls, she's deformed. That's the first thing I thought, she's deformed. And I guess the nurse could see that,
Well, he's probably allowed
and
me,
she
Father.
immediately kind of held her jaw, and she rubbed it. She said, "Ah, that's all going to go away." She said, "That's all going to go away." And sure enough, the next day it was all gone. But man, that did worry me there for a while.
You were knocked out?
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
remember delivering or?
Oh, no. Nope. All five of I was always knocked out. That's, no.
And
I'll go
then
to sleep. Today they wouldn't do that.
they kept, in those days, they kept them in the hospital.
Few
for,
days.
Yeah, a few days, 3-4 days.
My mother
And
was 2 weeks.
so when it come time to take her out, I mean, they put her in a wheelchair. She held the baby, and they wheeled her down to the curb. She got in the car, and then they put the baby in her lap in the car.
And we had to stop twice on the way home because he had to hold the baby. He had to hold Tim. We stopped twice. And then we got to my parents, and I mean, I was cross-eyed. I was sitting in a chair, you know, just, ugh. And she's crying and crying and crying. And I said, "Give me the baby." And I took her and stopped crying. Went up to bed. I think babies know the smell and the sound of mom. It's because they're riding around with you for 9 months. I think that they know.
Yeah.
More stories? I forget.